You know, we have this rather peculiar idea in our culture that helping others is always the right thing to do. We've been taught from childhood that to be a good person, a spiritual person, a loving person, you must always say yes. You must always give. You must always be available. And if you hesitate, if you pause, if you dare to set a boundary, well, then something must be wrong with you. You must be selfish. You must be unkind. But what if I told you that this entire notion is backwards? What if the compulsive need to help everyone, to fix everyone, to rescue everyone, is not actually love at all, but a form of interference, a way of disrupting the very lessons that life is trying to teach? Think about it. When you continually rescue someone from the consequences of their own actions, what are you really doing? You are not helping them. You're keeping them trapped. You are preventing them from learning. You are standing between them and the wisdom that only comes through experience. Now, I'm not suggesting we become cold or indifferent. That would be another extreme, wouldn't it? The question is not whether we should care. The question is how we care. And more importantly, who we choose to pour our energy into. Because you see, there are certain types of people who will drain you dry. They will take and take and take, and no matter how much you give, it will never be enough. And the tragedy is not that they are taking. The tragedy is that you are preventing them from growing. Let me share with you 7 types of people that you must learn to recognize. Not so that you can judge them or condemn them, but so that you can protect your own energy and allow them to face the very experiences they need to wake up. Number 1, the chronically lazy. There is a difference, you see, between someone who is struggling and someone who has simply given up. The person who is struggling will take your help and use it as a stepping stone. But the chronically lazy person, they will use your help as a hammock. They have made a decision, whether consciously or not, that life is too difficult and someone else should carry their weight. And the moment you step in to help them, you become that someone else. You become the person they depend on. Not because they cannot do things themselves, but because they have discovered that someone will always do it for them. Now watch what happens in nature. A bird does not bring food to a chick that refuses to open its mouth. A tree does not continue to nourish a branch that bears no fruit. Nature is very clear about this. If something is not producing, if something is not contributing, it is eventually cut off, not out of cruelty, but out of wisdom. The chronically lazy person will always have an excuse. They will tell you about their difficult childhood, their bad luck, their unfair circumstances. And some of this may be true. But here is the question you must ask. What are they doing about it right now? Are they taking any steps, however small, to change their situation? Or are they simply waiting for someone to come along and fix it for them? When you help someone who refuses to help themselves, you rob them of something precious. You rob them of the satisfaction of their own accomplishment. You rob them of the strength that comes from overcoming difficulty. You rob them of the very thing they need most, which is the discovery that they are capable. Some of you have been carrying people for years. You pay their bills, you solve their problems, you clean up their messes. And every time you do it, you tell yourself you are being kind. But what if your kindness is actually keeping them weak? What if your help is the very thing preventing them from standing on their own feet? The lazy person needs to feel hunger. They need to feel discomfort. They need to experience the natural consequences of their choices. Because it is only when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of change that they will finally move. Number 2, the perpetually ungrateful. Have you ever noticed that some people can receive an extraordinary gift and treat it as if it were nothing? You could give them your time, your money, your energy, your very heart, and they will take it without a second thought. No thank you, no acknowledgement, no appreciation whatsoever. This is not an accident. This is a character issue. Gratitude is not just good manners. Gratitude is the sign of a person who recognizes they are part of something larger than themselves. A grateful person understands that every blessing, every gift, every kindness is not owed to them, but given freely. And when you understand this, you treat gifts with reverence. But the ungrateful person? They believe the world owes them. They believe your help is their right. And the more you give to them, the more entitled they become. It's a strange paradox, isn't it? The more you pour into them, the less they appreciate it. I once knew a man who helped a friend pay his rent for 6 months straight. Month after month, he sacrificed his own comfort to make sure this friend had a roof over his head. And do you know how the friend responded? He complained. He complained that the apartment was too small. He complained that the neighborhood was not nice enough. He complained that he had to live this way while others had more. Not once did he say thank you. Not once did he acknowledge the sacrifice. And when the 6 months ended and the man could no longer help, do you know what happened? The friend became angry. He felt betrayed, as if the help he received was not a gift, but a debt that was now being unfairly called in. This is the nature of the ungrateful. They do not see kindness. They see weakness. They do not see generosity. They see opportunity, and they will take and take and take until there is nothing left of you. When you help an ungrateful person, you are not sowing seeds. You are throwing them into a bottomless pit. And no matter how much you throw, the pit will never be filled. Number 3, the arrogant and self-righteous. There are people who do not want your help. They want your validation. They do not want your wisdom. They want you to confirm what they already believe. And if you dare to offer anything that challenges their view of themselves, they will reject you entirely. The arrogant person is not suffering from a lack of knowledge. They are suffering from an excess of pride. They believe they already know. They believe their way is the right way, and anyone who suggests otherwise is simply wrong. Now, pride is a curious thing. It masquerades as confidence, but it is actually fear. The arrogant person is terrified of being wrong because their entire identity is built on being right. If they admit they don't know something, if they acknowledge they need help, their whole sense of self begins to crumble. And so they double down, they defend, they argue, they reject. You cannot help a person like this. Not because they are beyond help, but because they do not believe they need it. And until they come to that realization themselves, anything you offer will be wasted. Jesus walked away from people like this. He did not chase them. He did not beg them to listen. He simply said what needed to be said and moved on, because he understood something very important. You cannot force wisdom on someone who is committed to their own foolishness. The arrogant person must fall. They must experience the consequences of their pride. They must hit the ground hard enough that they finally look up and realize they do not have all the answers. And only then, when they are humbled, when they are broken, will they be ready to receive help. Number 4, the habitually wicked. Now, I want to be very careful here because we live in a time when people do not like to use words like wicked or evil. We prefer softer language. We say someone is troubled or misunderstood, but there are people in this world who are not confused. They know exactly what they are doing, and they do it anyway. The wicked person is not someone who makes a mistake. We all make mistakes. The wicked person is someone who has made wickedness their way of life. They lie, they cheat, they manipulate, they harm others without remorse, and when confronted, they do not repent. They justify. When you help a wicked person, you become an accomplice. You enable their behavior. You give them the resources to continue doing harm. And let me tell you something, they will use what you give them not to change, but to go deeper into their wickedness. There is a reason why wisdom traditions across cultures warn against supporting those who do evil. It is not because we lack compassion. It is because we recognize that some people have chosen a path that leads to destruction. And if you try to pull them off that path, they will only pull you onto it with them. The wicked person does not want to be saved. They want to be empowered. They want someone to fund their schemes, to cover for their lies, to clean up their messes. And if you step into that role, you are not helping them. You are partnering with darkness. Number 5, the incurably foolish. A fool is not someone who lacks intelligence. A fool is someone who refuses to learn. They make the same mistakes over and over again. They ignore advice. They reject wisdom. They touch the hot stove repeatedly and then wonder why their hand is burned. The difference between a wise person and a fool is very simple. A wise person learns from experience. A fool does not. Now, here is what makes this particularly difficult. The fool will often come to you in distress. They will be in crisis. They will be desperate, and your heart will go out to them. You will want to help. You will want to rescue them. But if you look closely at their history, you will see a pattern. This is not their first crisis. This is not the first time they have needed rescue. In fact, they have been in this exact situation multiple times before, and each time someone helped them. And each time they went right back to the same behavior that got them into trouble in the first place. The fool is like a person drowning in the ocean who refuses to grab the life preserver you throw them. Instead, they keep thrashing and splashing and going under. And if you jump in to save them, they will pull you under too. You cannot save a fool. Only life can teach them. Only the consequences of their own actions can break through their stubbornness. And if you keep intervening, you prevent those consequences from doing their work. Number 6, the master manipulator. The manipulator is perhaps the most dangerous person on this list because they are the hardest to recognize. They do not come to you with demands. They come with stories. They do not take from you directly. They make you want to give. The manipulator understands human nature. They know that good people want to help. They know that kind people feel guilty when they say no. And they use this knowledge like a weapon. They will tell you exactly what you need to hear. They will play on your emotions. They will make you feel special, needed, important. And before you know it, you are doing things for them that you would never do for anyone else. The manipulator is a shapeshifter. With one person, they are the victim. With another, they are the hero. They change their story depending on who they are talking to. And if you compare notes with others who have dealt with them, you will find that the stories do not match. When you help a manipulator, you are not helping a person in need. You are feeding a system. You are providing resources for them to continue their games. And the moment you stop giving, the moment you see through the act, they will turn on you. They will paint you as the villain. They will tell others how you wronged them. And they will move on to their next target. Number 7, the unrepentant rebel. Finally, there is the person who knows better but refuses to do better. They have been taught. They have been warned. They have been corrected. But they do not care. They have made a choice to continue in their destructive path, and nothing you say or do will change their mind. The unrepentant person is not ignorant. They are defiant. They know what is right, but they prefer what is wrong. And when you try to help them, they will nod and smile and agree with everything you say. But the moment you turn your back, they return to their old ways. This is the hardest type of person to let go of, because you can see their potential. You can see what they could become if they would just change. And so you keep hoping, you keep believing that this time will be different. But it never is. The unrepentant person must want to change. And until that desire comes from within them, all the help in the world will make no difference. You cannot want their healing more than they want it. You cannot fight for their freedom harder than they fight for it. And if you try, you will exhaust yourself while they remain exactly the same. So what do we do with all of this? Do we become cold and indifferent? Do we stop helping people altogether? No. We learn discernment. We learn to recognize the difference between someone who is struggling and someone who is stuck. We learn to distinguish between someone who needs a hand up and someone who wants a free ride. We learn to see clearly, without judgment, but also without illusion. True compassion is not enabling. True compassion sometimes means stepping back and allowing people to face the consequences of their choices. Because it is often through difficulty, through hardship, through hitting bottom, that people finally wake up. When you help the right people, you see fruit. When you pour into good soil, you see growth. But when you give to those who are not ready, who do not want to change, who will only use you and drain you, all you will see is waste. Your energy is precious. Your time is finite. Your resources are limited, and you must be wise about where you invest them. Not everyone deserves your help, and that is not cruelty. That is wisdom. So ask yourself today, who am I helping that I should let go? Who am I rescuing that needs to fall? Who am I enabling that needs to face their own consequences? And when you find the answer, have the courage to step back. Not with anger, not with resentment, but with the understanding that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is allow someone to experience the full weight of their own choices. Because in the end, you cannot save anyone. You can only point the way. And whether they walk that path or not is entirely up to them.